Hello and welcome to Moneyball Bets for July 29th, man. Summer is coming to an end, my friend. How you doing today, David?
Doing well, man. Just trying to bear the heat when you talk about summer coming to an end. I can't wait. I cannot wait for fall at this point. I don't know. I don't want to sound like one of those homers with it, but fall is my favorite season, and this averaging 95 plus right now is I'm a little over it.
Dude, they are canceling horse races today because of how hot it is. Like Ellis Park in Ohio canceled because of how hot it is. Woodbine, which is in Toronto, canceled. You know why? Hot as balls out there, my friend. Hot as fucking balls out there.
Hot as balls is right.
So we're here not to talk about warm weather. We're here to give you guys some bets for the old MLB slate. I have 4 today. David has 3. I actually have more than David. I actually really like today's card. Those watching for the first time, how it goes. David leads us off. We go back and forth. We talk about our plays, and chat room is open if anyone has any questions. We are live right now on Twitch, YouTube, and I'm still going to call it Twitter. I refuse to call it X or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what I found out before we jump into this?
What's that?
That Elon Musk, like he's got a Series X, a Series Y, a Series S, a Series X, a Series Y, and he wanted to have a Series E, so it's spelled sexy, but someone already had a Series E. That's why he has a Series 3.
Okay, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like that was my fun fact. I found out yesterday when I was competing against Heatstroke, which was fun.
Yeah, I bet.
So we're not here to talk Muskie. We're not here to talk Heatstroke. We're here to talk some MLB. So that's enough joking. Let's jump right in it. Let's make you guys some money because games are going to be starting soon. David, lead us off, my friend.
All right, yeah. So I mean, to Eric's point, I've got fewer plays than Erik today. That is a rarity, but quality over quantity is like how I like to look at this. I'm starting off looking at the first game of the board today, Angels versus Blue Jays, and I got both these teams in my top 5 hitting rankings going into today's game. Angels number 5, Blue Jays number 3 offensively for my rankings, but these starting pitchers in bad form. You got Detmers against Manoah. Detmers over his last 14 innings, average ERA 8+ with a whip of 1.6+. And then on the opposite end, you got Manoah, who's also just atrocious. I mean, he's just fallen off from where he was last year, and he can't seem to regain his form. But his last 3, he's also averaging an ERA of 5, a whip also of 1.5 at home. Those numbers almost double. His ERA goes up to 9 with a whip of over 2.4. I mean, you're talking some really bad numbers here for these starting pitchers going in today's game against some pretty hot hitting teams. I know it wasn't a crazy score yesterday, but I expect them both to just come out, firing pretty hot. So I'm looking at the over 9 in this game overall. And, when I actually take a look at the bullpens, similar form, Angels bullpen's in a little bit better form than Toronto. But both of them are averaging about a 1.3 whip. They're definitely going to let people still get on base when they get into that bullpen early, especially. And yeah, I mean, I'm just not overthinking this one. When I see my top 5 hitting teams playing against bad starting pitching and getting into bullpens early and often, which I think both of these teams are going to end up doing, I'm definitely playing the over in this game. So over 9 to start us off.
I like that. I like that play a lot. I have an over 2, but I'm going down south. I'm taking the Marlins and Tigers over 8.5. Bullpen game for the Tigers. And when you just kind of look at it for the year, the Tigers bullpen has given up the 5th most runs for the whole season. Their ERA is the 9th worst in MLB. So I know the Marlins are going to be able to get to the Tigers pen. Flip side, Johnny Cueto's on the mound. Look, we faded him last week. We took the over, 4 of 17 as combined for runners in scoring position, lose it by 1 run. Shit happens, dude. That game should have went over. got burned by it. I'm thinking that Cueto is going to come back to 2023 Cueto, not 2015 Cueto. I'm expecting that. Rockies were 2 of 8, just the Rockies, 2 of 8 runners in scoring position. Last 7 days, Tigers have a 256 batting average. Better, they've been doing better on offense. I'm going to bank on Cueto regressing. Tigers able to get to him. I'm also going to bank on the Marlins able to get to the Tigers pen. So I'm going to take the over 8.5.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I also have the Marlins in my top 10 hitting teams right now. So I think they'll also get into the bullpen pretty early there.
Now, the next game, we actually have some agreement. So I'll let you kick us off, my friend.
Okay. Yeah. So the very next game I'm looking at Cubs Cardinals. And, in this game, I've also got both these teams ranked in my top 10. Cubs are my number one offensive team going into today's game. And they have great starting pitching to match it as well with Tyon going on with Jameson there. Over his last 3, his ERA is 1.8, so sub under 2. His whip is also under 1, just a little bit, but, right at 0.9. And I totally expect him to stay in great form. When I see a great form starting pitcher going with number one offense in the league, it's really a no-brainer for me. The books have this game almost as a pick 'em. And, so from my, where I got this line kind of early, I think, they started actually off as plus odds going into today.
Yeah,
I think,
I'm so pissed. I am so pissed I missed those.
Right. And I obviously just missed it because I got a line at minus 102. But yeah, this is where I'm going with this one. On the opposite end, Adam Wainwright, as I looked at his numbers, getting into where he's at in terms of form, his last 3 times out over his last 10 innings pitched, average ERA of 11 with a whip of 2.4. Even at home, that number is still ballooned to 8.65 and a whip of 2 as well. I mean, you're talking about pretty bad starting pitching for St. Louis today against a pretty hot hitting lineup for Chicago. You get into the bullpens, a little bit better. The Cubs bullpens and not in as great form, I want to say, for just available bullpen today. What I mean by that is, they have certain relief pitchers that are actually going to be available today, but the Cubs bullpen is averaging about 4 with a whip of 1.2, and the Cubs bullpen is about 3.5 with a 1.2 whip as well. So pretty similar bullpen form, but I am just totally taking advantage of jumping out on them early, looking at that and seeing that. So kind of a no-brainer to me that this one was going to be a play today. Just looking at how hot the Cubs bats have been and just how disparately offense. I mean, starting pitching wise, they have in terms of 2 form pitchers going on the mound. One in great form with Tyon, the other one in bad form with Wainwright. Kind of a no-brainer to me to play this play today.
So I'm gonna dig a little deeper. Dig a little deeper. Do you know, since the All-Star break, who has the best batting average in the MLB, the highest OPS in the MLB, and averaging the most runs per game since the All-Star break in Major League Baseball?
If it's not the Cubs, I'll be surprised.
It is the Chicago Cubs. Now, flip side, you mentioned Adam Wainwright. I went back 5 games.
Okay.
Last 5 games, his ERA is a whopping 10.37 last 5 games. So I definitely want a piece of Wainwright. You know what I mean? That's why I played the first 5. I want a piece of the hottest team in baseball going against old man Wainwright, who they literally just faced last month. Wainwright lasted 3 innings, gave up 7 runs. His ERA with 11 hits, 7 runs, 3 innings, 21. Whew. So look, I just one of my angles in MMA, and I'm doing it tonight when I'm fading my boy Tony Ferguson. These old guys that just don't have it anymore. They're just hanging on. And unfortunately, that's what Wainwright is. So I am going to be fading Adam Wainwright. I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sorry, right, Adam. But you know what? I'm fading you today. I'm taking the Cubs for the first 5 and the game. You mentioned the Cubs pitcher. Last 3 games. Are you ready for this? You talked about his good form. 1.88 ERA.
Yep.
Last 3 games. Good form. So a hot hitting team against an old pitcher who's struggling, and now St. Louis has been hitting the ball well. If you guys want to take the over, I get that. Yep. But with the form of the Cubs pitcher, I'm not going to bet that. I'm just going to take the Cubs here. First 5 and the game. I got them at -104.
And I was going to follow suit exactly like you said. I looked at my first 5 line is actually at -115. That line's jumped up. And so I just kind of looked at that going -115 or -102. I'll take the -102 for the game. I think they outlast here anyway.
Yeah, just a Wainwright fade.
I'm with you. I was going to do the same thing and going
Wainwright fade. That's what you have to do, man.
Yep.
Third and final play, my friend.
Yeah, so my last play of today is actually a parlay. I don't actually get into a lot of parlays, but when I do, it's usually 2 or 3 teams. I'm going a 2-team parlay here. I'm looking at the Twins and the Phillies combined for +138 odds. So with this, you have the Twins going against the Royals, and again, some disparate hitting here. Twins are one of my number 3 offensive team rankings right now, and they got Bailey Over going on the mound for them today. Bailey is in great form. He has always lasted about 6-7 innings with an average ERA of 3 and a whip of right around 1, if not below 1. I really like where he's at. They also have a great bullpen relief to support him today. They're averaging an ERA closer to 2 with also a whip under 1 as well. So, I definitely look at the Twins as being that team that should just take one back from the Royals. They got walked off last night. Duran, they just got to him. Witt came up with a grand slam walk off. Great. Nothing you can do about that. That happens. And anything goes when you get into extras. That's just kind of how the game unfolds because, when you got that extra runner on base, it's not hard to get another run across and, just see what happens. You walk a couple people, bases loaded. There you go. But from that same aspect, looking at across, the league here, I'm also looking at, the Phillies and Pirates. And again, a little bit of a disparity when it comes to the offensive rankings here. I've got, Phillies aren't crazy in my top 10 or anything, right in the middle of the pack. I got them ranked number 17, but my Pirates that they're playing against are dead last in offense for me. They're my number 30 ranked team. They also just traded away Santana. It's another thing that people got to kind of look out for over the weekend is how these lineups are shifting a little bit, in terms of offense and where they're actually going to get to them. So, as I look at it, Aaron Nola, he's in pretty good form actually. He's averaging a whip of 0.8, 0.89 actually right now. So under 1, his ERA is like right about 3.5 right now over his last 20 innings pitched. So he's in really good form going into this game for himself. As on the opposite end for Pittsburgh, you got Quinn Priester, who I want to say he's a relief pitcher because he's only pitched, in his last 3 outings about 10 innings. So, I think
he just came up.
Okay. Well, there you go. But even still, he got shelled. So his average ERA right now is a 9 with a whip of 1.5. And you're looking at just, like I said, hotter bats for Philly, looking at somebody like him, and I did see when he came up last week because I had to look into him a little bit, but, the name didn't resonate with me, and there's kind of obvious reasons why. He hasn't shown out the way I think they expected him to so far. But what were you going to say?
Just to piggyback your point, a team like Pittsburgh, when we kind of see what they're doing, They're just bringing every young
bringing everybody up.
They're just bringing everybody up. So we need to make sure we monitor this. There are guys that we are going to want to take that are young guys. You know, I took Priester. Priester, is that how you say his name?
Priester? Yeah, Priester.
I took Priester last game against the Padres.
Yeah.
You know, it worked out good for me, but against Nola, you know, I think we see the Pirates kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Pack it in a little bit. Pack it in, have the new kids come up. A little bit
in sell mode. Yeah. They're trying to get people experience, and they're, you know, getting people up there just for that. I mean, they got a whole bunch of rookies in that game.
So I completely agree with you. I think the Phillies are still fighting. Phillies are fighting. Phillies are in an insane playoff battle with the Marlins, the Reds, and I think there's one other team they're in this insane wild card battle with. So just looking at the wild card right now, the Phillies are a game up for the wild card. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then the Reds are a half game back of them.
Yep.
Well, actually, no, it's basically just all these teams are within a half game. Phillies, Reds, Marlins, Giants, and then the D-backs are one game back, with the Cubs being 3.5 games back. So this is a nice little wild card race that we have unfolding. Real quick before I get in my last play, the team sitting at 6 games out and the team sitting at 6.5 games out, the Padres and Mets. I know the Mets traded Robertson, I believe.
Yes, they did.
Do you see the Mets trading Verlander?
I do. They're in sell mode. I mean, you know, I really do think he'll be gone. They might even get into some other bullpen arms. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually let Ottavino or, you know, possibly go as well. So those are a couple names I'm definitely looking at. I mean, I mentioned it last week when we were talking. People are going to be looking at each other's bullpens and looking for arms. And you just saw the White Sox give up like pretty much every arm they had in the last few days here.
Now, what about Soto? Do you think the Padres?
The Padres? Oh, absolutely. In his last year of his deal. Last year of his deal, they don't have anything. He's not contributing greatly to the Padres offense right now. He could contribute better to another offense, possibly. I saw a hypothetical come up last night to go to Baltimore, and I kind of was like, that would be interesting. To kind of give them a little seniority to Baltimore. Yeah.
What about Hader?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is a hypothetical. I think if, you know, Baltimore right now leading their division, everything all in, Baltimore can be a one-stop shop with San Diego. They can go in, go get Soto, go get Hader, go get Blake Snell. Go get every single one of those guys, and because Baltimore has a deep farm system, man. They've been so bad
for so long, and they've been traded. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
They should.
I'm saying they should, because the Padres were in that position at one point, right? They had an entire farm system. That's how they got all these names in house right now, right? That's how they got everybody in there and were able to spend the money because they had such a deep farm system. And, you know, in doing that, they were able to, you know, ship off like Abrams and everything else like that. But, you know, point being, Baltimore is in that same position for themselves and leading. And if they really want to be a contender, they're going to make some moves before Tuesday.
Because Baltimore to me is interesting. They're obviously ahead of schedule. You check the landscape of the land. It's so hard to win an MLB. Do you just say, F it, we're going all in this year? Or do you stick with the outline that they had?
I think they make a few moves. Like I said, if they already have a back-end bullpen with Cano and Bautista, that's great. If they want to shorten that game to make it 6-inning games for themselves or 5-inning games and bring in another relief pitcher that like Hader, you know, and just bring everybody down another inning, that would be pretty sick. I think, you know, they definitely need some seniority in the outfield with, you know, a couple of their other vets like Mullins on, you know, IL and stuff like that. So, you know, it would it would be the right play if they went and got a relief pitcher, maybe even a starting pitcher to go along with like their rookie, like Grayson Rodriguez, right? Like, so that's why I think of like Blake Snell, I think of Hader, I think of Soto, and I think of it as a one-stop shop for the Orioles, to jump in with Padres on a trade, to go ahead and swap out their farm system and go that direction with them, because then all of a sudden Padres would have a better farm system back, after what they depleted over recent years.
Now, a team that's interesting to me, they did add from the guy. Oh my God, you literally just mentioned his name, from Pittsburgh. Who did the Pirates just trade?
Pirates trade?
Yeah.
Santana.
Yeah. The Brewers to me are an interesting team just because their pitching is so deep. It's just at the bat they struggled. They brought up the kid from Boston, Sal Frelick, whatever.
Yep.
And he's been playing great since he came up. If they just add like one more bat, I think that's a team we could see, because of the pitching, they can shorten a game. If they just get one or two more bats just to get that offense going, I think that's a dangerous team. I wouldn't want to be matched up with them in the playoffs. But then again, you got David's baby Reds just like clawing up the ladder. Do they make a move?
I think so. I think they have to for another starting pitcher. And I mean, I mentioned this about them, I think, over recent weeks as well. They've got some good fresh talent with some of the rookies like Abbott who have held their own. But they need. I mean, they could be another team to go after someone like Snell. I mean, anybody, in my opinion, should go for someone like Snell. I think Snell is moving this weekend, so he's definitely somebody. But yeah, I definitely think they add to Brandon Williamson, who went last night against the Dodgers. I saw this. I'm kicking myself a little bit. I looked at that game and I said, Cincinnati has a really great chance to win this. They were plus 200 dogs, and I didn't touch it. And the only reason is because their offense had not been clicking as what it showed up last night. Pitching and everything else on paper made sense. Their offense was just lagging way behind the Dodgers from where they were. But to your point, the Reds, you get Ellie De La Cruz, going the way he did last night, to go home to third in 10 seconds, on a ball that's just like a casual double. He made it a triple in no time, and then they're on the board in no time with a sac fly or even a hit. Yeah, I mean, I definitely like where the Reds team is at. I mean, they're in position for something. Everybody needs an arm right now. I don't think Cincinnati needs any bats. They're proving that they don't right now. Friedel, McClain, Votto, De La Cruz, all of them are.
They just brought up like CES, who's like,
yeah. I mean,
so
they're fine with bats right now. I think they just need to go get. They need to shore up their bullpen though. They're having, like, Diaz is great on the back end, but man, getting to him has been tough. So that's why I'm saying starting pitching, relief pitching, they need a couple of those types of arms in there. I think that's what they'll target, should they make a move this weekend.
And a team that's going to be interesting is the Tigers. Obviously, they could trade Lorenzen.
Lorenzen will definitely move. I agree.
So, they also have like some older pitchers that they can start moving. And as a Tigers fan, it frustrates, and I'm going to swear here, the living fucking shit out of me when I see the Orioles doing well, I see the Reds doing well, and we've been making all these goddamn trades from Avila, who's the worst general manager ever, and we fucking suck. And we signed Javi Baez, which is the from the NBA when he signed with the Pistons. 2 worst contract signings in the history of this Detroit sports. But anyway, I have one more play. As soon as come on.
I know.
It's my boy. Brian Wu over 5.5 Ks. We're back to getting plus money. D-backs post All-Star break, striking out at a 24% clip, averaging 9 strikeouts per game. This week, the D-backs are striking out 8 times per game. Wu has gone over this total 3 of his last 5. And I'm just kind of looking at it. The only games Wu doesn't go over this total is when it's a short start and he's only lasting 3 innings because the opposing team gets to him. So if he goes 5, he hits this total. So that's the benchmark. If he can get to 5, he hits his total. I think he hits 5. I think he's going to do well against the Diamondbacks. I'm taking over 5.5 Ks at a juicy.
Those are great odds. Those are
20.
really, really, really good odds. I got some numbers for Brian Wu that I like to back you up on that, because same type of thing. This man, when he goes more than 5 innings pitched, he is averaging over 6 Ks. I mean, his K through 9 right now in any 6 innings pitched, 10.5 average. 10.5. That's double what the K rate is even meant to be. And, so I love where the numbers are at for him. When I went back even looking for those odds, it's dropped down to plus 105. You still get plus money, but not the plus 120 that you got in at. So pretty jealous of that. That is a great, really, really good odds.
Let's see. Oh, come on. Give it to me. Give it to me. Do they have? It's ever since I hit that 60-1 for him to have the most strikeouts. It's like that bet has just disappeared. It's just like gone in the wind. You know what I mean? Just like gone in the wind. God damn it. I was really hoping I could find that. Well, that is it for today's episode. Make sure to give my boy David a follow at BetterDP21 on Instagram and the Twitter X or whatever the hell it's called. We will be back next week. Let's make some money. Let's cash some tickets. Good luck in your bets, my friend.
You too.